Good morning and happy Sunday, everybody. I wanted to hop on today a little bit and talk more basics of cameras and gear so we have a little bit of more understanding when we go in more detail later on this week with manual mode and how to use your camera and everything. So basically with the digital cameras, there are full frame sensors like mine, and then everybody else, the consumer level cameras, would probably have a crop sensor. So what that means is that the sensor's smaller, so it's got less sensitivity to light. It doesn't handle low light as well as maybe a full sensor, but also whatever lens you have on that crop sensor camera. For Canons, it's a 1.6 crop factor. For Nikons, I believe it's 1.5. So that basically means whatever lens you have on your camera, you multiply it by 1.5 or 1.6, and that's really what you're shooting with. But because mine's full frame, I've got a 35mm lens on it. It would shoot at 35. However, on another camera, it would probably be equivalent to about a 50 or so. So that's something to keep in mind for those of you at home. And also the shutter speeds and f-stops. Different cameras have different capabilities and stuff like that, and we'll get into more detail on that. So my 35mm lens, and all your lenses, you can see, if you look at it, it tells you what your maximum f-stop can be. This one's a 1.4. That means it does really, really well in low light. Depending on your lenses, a lot of the consumer level ones are maybe a 3.5 to 4.5, something like that. So they don't handle low light as well as some of these faster ones. And also a lot of the other cameras have a pop-up flash where you can do flash, versus like mine, I have to have an external flash to do it. And we'll get into more detail about how you can make that flash more flattering and not so harsh straight on. And the flash straight on the camera is what causes the red eye and stuff like that. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that. And as far as lenses go, there are prime lenses. There are lenses that do not zoom, that you become the zoom by walking backwards and forwards. Generally speaking, prime lenses are faster, and I do prefer them. They're just better quality in my opinion. They don't have as many moving parts, so it's not so hard to mess up. But then you also have zoom lenses. You have your standard zooms, which is what most cameras probably come with. I don't generally shoot with one of those. I use my 35 or my 70 to 200 zoom more than anything. This lens is a 2.8. I think it says it somewhere on there somewhere. But anyways, it's a 2.8. That means it handles low light really well, and it's a beast and a workhorse, and it's actually my go-to lens. I love it for just about everything, people and landscapes and everything else. And I think that's the basics of camera gear. I know there are a lot more mirrorless cameras these days versus these have mirrors in them. As far as your settings and stuff like that on the mirrorless cameras, they'll be the same as with the mirror cameras, and all the different buttons and everything will go into those. Mine stays on manual. I am a control freak, sort of. Not really. Yes, okay, I am. I like to control everything, and I keep it on manual all the time. And then we'll also get into your white balance settings and different things that you can set on your dial and whatnot, your f-stop, your shutter speed. How I was photographing a bracelet yesterday, and so these were the settings that I used for that. And I think that covers the basics for now. If you have any questions, let me know, leave them in the comments. I'll get more in-depth and detailed as the week goes on. We'll talk about posing, flattering posing, the feminine tilt versus the masculine tilt. Why you don't want to stand like this because it broadens you, versus if you have a little bit of separation and a little bit of an angle, it's more flattering. So I hope to get into everything because we've got time on our hands these days. From the basics of the gear, what you have, how to use it, to posing, lighting, how to make flash a little more flattering, especially inside. I'll be doing a lot of inside. It's been rainy here in Austin for a couple days now, but once it gets sunny outside, I want to show y'all a little bit more what I was talking about lighting the other day when I mentioned that, and how the light can be harsh and how to balance it and stuff like that. And hopefully it'll just be educational and fun. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will be back on tomorrow to go into a little more detail about shooting on manual and how to work your camera that way. Bye.